You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the February 7th, 2024 meeting of the Long Beach Budget and Finance Committee. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Welcome to the Budget and Finance meeting on 2/7 of our new time at 1 p.m. And we're still getting situated. So I did talk with Carl Sender and Trista, who was doing our accounting a lot the last year and change, and Sender, who's been representing us for a while. So we're hopeful that Laurel and I made it through the first month of the year, and I think we had just one phone call with Carl about a W-2 question and a 100R payroll question before we finish submitting those items. So the annual financial reports due at the end of February. So, and I had some follow-up questions. We have a lobbyist bill that's going to be due. We have some election costs that were both not foreseen in the budget. So I wanted to call them about that. Talked with them this morning. They were actually going to get back to me tomorrow. I reached out to them yesterday. Probably could have sooner in anticipation of this meeting, but that timeline being said, they were looking at the CDIP fund and the rainy day fund, where we can pull from or place these new expenses. So that being said, since those are not in the budget, we may need to, Trista actually said that she will look at the capital plan, which I think is something that this board can be working on with the help of Sender in the next month or two. I think I can start looking at budget items in April timeframe. June is when typically the council or this committee would start looking at the budget issues and trying to make plans for that. So again, once that AFR is done, I think there's maybe one other deadline in March, but hopefully if we can make it, myself, our office, make it through that time, then I can have a little room to focus on some more of these items. So I know, JD, you have questions. I think by our next month, we can have a solid agenda for what we want to be looking at. I think JD and Trista and myself can get together and work on that. So I have the budget or the agenda from last month, but don't feel the most comfortable probably expanding on what John Wall or Chief had brought up at last month's meeting. So I can go through, the last statements that we have. So Laurel and I just closed 2023, which is good news. And that gives us correct balances for 24. So we can probably this week or next, we will distribute some budget numbers for people to look at, considering Trista, I believe, did most of the budget. So it would be good for people to look at those, and we can now get you those. So that's good news. Again, I think we need to wait on Sender for the capital plan, which they are going to get back to me about. Mark, did you have anything you want to discuss at this meeting?
I could help on the capital plan a little bit, just to kind of expand on that some. I've been working with the department heads. Tom Dahl, street superintendent, has already secured a price for the new F-550 plow truck for the street department. We're in the process of reviewing that to see if the specs meet the needs of the street department. In the capital plan, we had initially reduced that from 150 to 120,000. However, the quote that we now have in hand, I believe, was right around $144,000. So it's about $24,000 more than what we had budgeted for that particular vehicle. Also working with Water Department, they're going to be securing 2 quotes for the emergency generator backup for the substation down off of Mount Clair and Oriole. So Greg and Austin are working on that. Hope to have that in the next 30 to 45 days. This afternoon, I had emailed all of you to include the council. This will be discussed at Monday's council meeting. However, I wanted the council to have this information in advance of Monday's meeting about the police car lease options that are available. Originally, we had talked about purchasing our next police vehicle, just paying for it outright, which is typically what the town has done in the past. Financially, it's a good way to do it. You save, a great amount of interest when you do that compared to compound interest over 5 years. However, the lease purchase program that LaPorte Chrysler currently offers, many police departments here in LaPorte County are taking advantage of it. And they're offering us a considerable amount for trade-in value for our sedan that's parked across the street from the town hall here. It's a 2014. That vehicle is now 10 years old, has some serious maintenance concerns on the horizon. I would hate to see one of them actually, go bad on that vehicle, and then what was a $6,000 trade now becomes, $1,500 down the road. We could use that $6,000 vehicle trade-in for the 6 first payments on that lease for 6 months of this year, leaving us with 3 or 4 months of lease payments, which I would recommend that, we take out of the capital plan. Because in the capital plan for this year, we do have on the police side, replacing that vehicle. And then also next year, replacing another vehicle as well. So obviously, that information, all of you have that. If there's any questions, please get them to me. And then the community center is going to be getting a priority list together of what they would like to see done with their capital plan over there as well. I know the heat pumps are one of the things that's on the horizon for them with the HVAC system over there. And then the town hall capital, we've already addressed the security cameras for both here and the community center. One of the remaining things on the town hall is the server upgrade, which I'm not yet certain that needs to be upgraded. We'll consult with K Plus. And then, because we're actually going to a cloud-based storage for a lot of our needs. And then probably one of the primary things that are left on there is looking at a new air conditioning unit for the town hall. For those of you who don't know, on the roof of the town hall, there are 3, I bet you there are probably 4 or 5 units that are up there. And one of those units up there is well over probably 20 years old. We've been kind of limping it along. We'd like to replace that air conditioning unit this year. Aside from that, that's the only updates I have on the capital plan. I have nothing else to present today.
So,
on the capital plan, from the building, the town center, community center, I would like to probably like full fiction, review, our, operating budget and our capital budget with the committee, with everybody. So we're all on the same page and we know how much we have to spend and what we can and can't do. So I think, when everybody's ready, whatever, we'd like to have a conversation with that, because last year, just that we have a lot of things that we'd like to get accomplished this year, and so that's my part of the capital plan.
Meg, I'd like to add, and I think once Trista's back with us, if we could have just a budget and finance meeting specifically focusing on the capital. I see some areas within the capital that we can probably either hold off for, some of those items and or, make some reductions on some of that capital to assist with some of the needs like you described earlier and some of these bills that are coming in for various things. So yeah, I think once Trista's back with us, we set, a workshop with her and this committee, and then we can go through that, and everybody will have a better understanding of what the needs are for this year, and then move to, the next 4 years, we can maybe move some things around.
Chief, I truly appreciate you saying that, because I agree wholeheartedly. There's some things within the capital plan and want to make sure that I don't see. And again, I've just got to ask a lot of questions to better understand the operating budget and the capital plan. But what I don't see is the change orders for the public safety building. I don't see any budget dollars for the septic solution, right? That's an open question. I don't see the liability or potential liability of a lawsuit. If this was in the public sector, that would be an accrued expense immediately. Is that, I'd like to know her expectations, even though, does that actually have to be that money? In the private sector, it would be yes, if we are ordered to pay that. I don't see any transfers from rate into the rainy day fund. And I don't see anything on Lakeshore Drive being repaid through 2028. So now, doesn't mean they aren't in here and there's other ways to do it, but there's some general questions, because those are some big dollar things that's $1.5 million, $2 million, that especially this year, I would like to get some clarification on it, to the extent about leasing. Does leasing go, what is our maximum debt limit that a town of this size can have? And does a lease then, is it considered a liability that would come up against that cap, and how much flexibility do we have? These are technical questions, but I think they have an implication on how it would impact our town's finances. And just is kind of the key to that, to some of these questions.
No, I would agree, JD, to the point that, yes, she's key to this. And I think we just need to provide better clarification on the actual needs and then the wants of the town. For instance, the vehicle for the street department, the vehicle for the police department, those are obviously needs that we have every day to keep operations going in that. But then, maybe we limp along with the air conditioner on the town hall roof for another year. If it holds out for this year, great. If it breaks in July, then we replace it in July.
Yeah, and I think to know what we're also related to, obviously, we have some projects that are in motion that cannot be touched, it's must-haves because they're in process. Our needs and our wants, and on top of it too, is getting a more clear view of that, I think would be great.
And I would add, just for this committee's knowledge, because it's going to be brought in front of the council on Monday. I just learned about this about 2 hours ago. There was a meeting this morning with our water department, with our engineering staff from Haas and Associates, reference the Lakeshore Drive water tap improvement plan that's currently ongoing. They've come into a situation where that particular project is probably going to have some overruns on it because of some of the issues they're coming into with the actual digging along Lakeshore Drive and the locating of the public services. So I don't have all the details. I was not in the meeting this morning, but it was shared with me after the meeting that some of that information will be forthcoming on Monday to the council. I think our first pay application to Woodruff's is due on Monday, and it was an agreement between all parties that were present at this morning's meeting that we pay the first pay application and then get better clarification moving forward of any additional, incidentals as this project continues. I was informed that the project should wrap up within 30 days. But I know John Wall, who's been assigned as the liaison for the council through the Public Works Committee to these major projects on Lakeshore Drive. When I met with him this morning, Mr. Wall shared that information in great detail, gave me an explanation, and I asked that he be present at Monday's council meeting to share what was discussed today during that meeting so that the council has a clearer picture with full transparency of what's going on with that project. And then we have another major project, as you know, starting first week or second week of March on the stormwater improvement for Lakeshore Drive. I don't anticipate any issues with that one. But then again, on large construction projects, you never know the things you encounter once you begin these projects. So, also on the change orders that you spoke of from the public safety building, I had asked that, Mr. Wall be present on Monday as well to provide some better insight on those as well, in reference to the public safety building. So, but no, all good points. And like I said, I think, yes, definitely we need a workshop in the next 30 to 45 days before we start authorizing some of these larger expenditures in that. So,
You mentioned the lawsuit. I assume you're talking about the 500 from Michigan City.
Yes, sir.
And have we gotten any, obviously, we don't know anything more of what's going on.
I mean, unless the chief can provide some clarity, I can tell you the council has not been provided. We're going to have an executive session to talk about legal issues that is scheduled for Monday. It has not happened yet. And understanding what that potential liability is, we don't have clarity from Mr. Logan.
And then, the other, whatever we'll call it, project that I hear about is, and it seems like it's gonna be a private endeavor for 5 and 6 homeowners on Winshore Drive that want to connect to the Michigan City septic sewer system. And I haven't heard much about it. And I'm just kind of curious if that's going to affect the town financially in any way.
You know, in the proposal that was presented, to which the council has not had a full discussion about that proposal itself, I don't see any financial obligation in there for the town to do anything. But that is as the proposal has been submitted, to which it's just sitting with us at this point.
Because we don't know exactly what's being proposed. I could possibly see different things happening. An example is if there's 6 people on the church drive that are going to connect to Michigan City, and all of a sudden the 7th or 8th people come by and say, well, I want to jump. Well, I'm sorry, it's I don't know exactly what I'm getting into, a lot of questions. Is it a private endeavor, or is the town involved? And if the town has to be involved in some regards because of the right of way that they have to use to connect to Michigan City, then all of a sudden, could there be potential lawsuits where all of a sudden the group of 6 are going to do the project, but now all of a sudden other people want to do it and are be involved? I mean, I just think there's a lot involved in this, that one project.
100%. It's a complex problem. That's been, the proposal is very complex. The proposal is public record. We can get that to people that has been submitted. So if you'd like a copy of that, I'm happy to send it to you. So you can see exactly what is being proposed. That's not, you can go to anybody. But it certainly is there's a lot of complexity in the proposal for sure.
And that, you know, that's a concern, which I just mentioned.
Thank you both. I think our budgeting process with calendars and deadlines, and even, I think we've got our meeting scheduled for now, as long as Trista, as long as this works for her. The agenda responsibility, I will take that on for next month while working with probably JD and Trista and Chief of anything that we would like covered. Yeah, I think. Does anybody have anything else?
I think, Meg, once the department heads receive their operating budget for 2024, that will assist them in making some decisions. And I'll use for an example, the town hall building maintenance. We're projected, I believe, for this year for $25,000 as the operating fund for the town hall building maintenance. Getting back to that earlier discussed air conditioner, we make it till, say, June, July of this year, and we're holding the building together pretty good. We could use some of the operating revenue, the 25,000, to replace the air conditioner on the roof rather than getting into the capital outlay plan. So those are some of the things I'm going to work with the department heads to look within their operating budgets to draw from there first, not to go into the capital revenue, capital expenditure plan per se, and get as much work done with our general tax levy, like motor vehicle highway fund, all the things that we receive tax revenue on. And then let's, leave the capital alone as much as we can. And then when we need to go to capital, this committee will recommend to the council, what projects we move forward. For instance, the water department, we've gone 20 plus years with no emergency generator backup at the pump station on Moore Road. That expenditure this year is $75,000 to approximately $90,000. Maybe we wait another year on that particular project too, because again, it's not a sudden need, but it's one of those things we really would like to have in case, the town was without power for days at a time. But again, those are some of the things, getting back to that capital plan. I think it's going to be important we set aside 2 or 3 hours and we go by department to department, town need, major project, JD's concerns as well, which are all our concerns. We all agree with everything. And then we just discuss those, in that workshop when Trista has the time.
And Chief, you raised a question and I put it on the agenda for Monday as well. But it sounds as if the operating budget there is very little room, even the viability of moving anything to the rainy day fund this year is slim to none. Is that from an operating budget standpoint?
I would say that we wouldn't want to take from the operating budget for 2024 at this early on in the year, but later in third, fourth quarter, that's something we could look at. My last conversation with Trista was to look at the other reserves that we have and moving some of them into the rainy day fund rather than getting into your current operating budget, because we don't know what we face in the next 10 months. But come November of this year, let's say, for instance, in the street department, maybe in our other equipment and repair line item, I'm gonna throw a ballpark number, let's say 40,000 was budgeted this year for that, and they've only used, 10,000 of it for the year. And then obviously, we can move, several thousands of dollars out of there.
Yeah, the only reason I bring it up is that our ability to move the money ends at the end of February. For the year. So that's the only reason I'm bringing that up now. In between January 1st and the end and March 1st is where the council's ability to make any transfers exist. But it's just a general question to try and kind of understand, as we're all kind of new at this, what getting our feet under.
And when I talked with Trista and Carl Center this morning, Trista's going to put an email together, at least to me, whether one of them is going to attend and speak on that. They wanted to check the deadlines that you're referring to, and and they were going to get back to me.
Yeah,
So,
those are in our ordinances. They aren't in state ordinances, so that's where they look. It's under the budget. The rainy day fund language within our ordinance.
The only comment that I had from the building point of view, the community center, we have a very tight operating budget, and we definitely will want to use substantial amounts from the capital budget because of last year we didn't do much. And we can explain all of it, but if what you're saying, Mark, I see from the community center that we're gonna want to use the capital, the capital budget, because our operating budget is slim.
On May 31st, we will have the two major projects on Lake Shore Drive will pretty much be closed out. We'll have the water improvement plan and the stormwater one closed out. I was told today the water improvement is within 4 weeks of completion. And then first, second week of March, we start stormwater. Stormwater, once they start, they have to be completed by Memorial Day weekend. So I would say most of those invoices would be into the town, and we would have a better idea on those two major projects where we stand financially, moving forward. So,
Yeah, there's, to that point, I think there's a lot of, there's a lot of moving pieces right now. And I think as we get through this year, it'll be an interest this year as well, as we get a better understanding exactly where everything is at. So we have a clear view. I think it's just important for people to hear. We don't have a crystal ball right now, exactly. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff I don't see here that we may have to make some movements within the budget, as we learn more. And I think that's a message I think people need to hear.
yeah, I mean, like the public safety building too, it's set to, open hopefully in May and have a closure date in May too. So we should have all the final invoicing sometime in May rolling in for the public safety building. So right now we have 3 major projects that are ongoing in the town. In my short time here in the town, we haven't had this many projects going in such a short time. I can tell you that just from juggling them every day. So, by June 1st, we'll be in much better position to make some of these decisions. Till then, I can assure you, I've talked to the department heads. They all understand just slow and steady as we go into 2024, take care of the basic operating needs on a daily basis. And then we'll start approaching some of these big picture items later on in the year. So we'll get there. Baby steps.
Okay, it was good to meet and talk through some of this, so I think we're on for next month. Hopefully Trista will be here for that one, or at least available. And I think we've got a lot that we're, like JD said, that we're getting a handle on and going to get updates on. My office will get those worksheets to all the department heads, and then we'll work on scheduling that workshop. I think that's a great idea, so. Okay, anything else? Anybody comments?
Yes.
Sure, come on up.
Love all the comments.
Anita Remich's 2300 Foreman. I think that when you talk about it only being February 7th today, I think, and you talk about not having a crystal ball, and you talk about these huge projects that are going on just in the short time you're here. And yes, it is a new council, and yes, we want to know all these numbers. We want to know lots of questions about change orders and septic solutions and liability. Those are all things that we're all aware of, having been residents here in town, part of it, transfer of rainy day fund. These are all things that are ongoing. And I just look back at the time, the storm of Halloween of 2019 that set this town on its literal edge, and where everybody pulled together and the money was incredible. And just having our building commissioner out there, John Wall was out there. It was day after day after day. So things can happen. It's nice to be able to say, we want these numbers. We want to know where things are. We want to know all of these. Even the private sewer project, Joe, you talk about. The proposal, yes, if the proposal is public, but just looking at it, the proposal may go no farther, depending on, there could be some things that just stop that proposal dead in its tracks. So if you look at it, if I look at it, if you look at it, anybody, you can come up with 1,000 questions. Who's going to clean up? Who's going to be liable for certain things? Who's going to replace the grass? I mean, it can be as simple as that. So, and, again, we don't know what's happening with the sewer. That is I believe that's our only litigation right now. When you talk about, a pending lawsuit, it's not even, I think that you do just have to look at the numbers, continue to let Meg and Laurel do their job and make sure that things are taken care of. And I think they're doing a good job, just continuing to keep us aware of where things are. And again, tight operating budgets, and we'll just keep moving forward. And I appreciate all that you are doing in this short period of time and closing the books. Hooray.
Any public comment from Zoom? I don't believe so. Okay. I'll make a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.